Hey, Seattle hockey fans, happy game day! The Seattle Kraken will close out their 4-game road trip against the Carolina Hurricanes. It's not going to be an easy one. We're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about Alison Lukan getting switched. Goalies. What do we do about our goaltending? And then the Seattle Kraken Showcase is back. We're going to talk about the Rivalry Series, all that and more on this episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
Happy Thursday, happy game day, Seattle hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I'm your host, Erica L. Ayala. Thank you for making us one of your listens of the day, a part of your daily routine. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Now, you know that Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. Where we're going to start this episode is taking you over to Alison Lukan, of course. We have the Carolina Hurricanes tonight. We did not play well against Tampa Bay the other night, Tuesday night. And so we have to redeem ourselves. In the amazing words of Alex Wenberg, there's a lot to prove. There is still more to be gained from this road trip. So according to Alison, what is it going to take? Let's talk about it. Alison Lukan is talking about what we need to see from the Seattle Kraken. It's 3-game essentials. First one, of course, we always start with knowing the opponent. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes, because of how they play, and just a reminder, we lost to them 5-1 back in October. They like to limit time in the offensive zone by their opponent. They like to limit shot quality. They like to limit shot volume. Now, all of these things, I would argue, shot quality and time in the offensive zone in particular, are things that have not been looking great for the Seattle Kraken. So it's a bit of a juggernaut tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. Another thing is that they have a really great goalie. We have shown that we can get shot volume up, but sometimes we'll have a higher shot volume than our opponent and still really not have anything to show for it as far as getting goals past the goaltender, getting goals up on the board. So those are a few things that we're going to have to keep an eye on. This game tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific time. So an early start. This is a really important thing, and it goes back to, unfortunately, a lot of what was the Kraken crap right from last season. I talked about it time and time and time again, to the point where I had the brilliant, I still stand that this is a brilliant suggestion, which is to get the Seattle Kraken practicing as if they've already exhausted the first period, because we tend to play better in the second frame. The Seattle Kraken did not practice yesterday. Now, Dave Hakstol addressed that. He didn't like the ice time. It was about a 1:32 p.m. Eastern time, ice time, and he didn't like that with the travel, getting in late from Florida, all of that jazz. So his team did not practice. So I hope they had a good morning skate. Everyone seemed in good spirits for the most part. We'll see what happens. But Alison talks in her piece about having, as you might be able to see here, a strong start will be key in developing a consistent attack against the Carolina defense, and also an effort to quiet their offense. Your best defense is your offense, yada, yada, yada. But I like this. A strong start is critically important. And that's not just an offensive start, though, of course, it always helps when you're starting strong on your own offensive side of things. But really, what we're talking about here is making sure that Seattle's awake. I feel like I'm a little bit dazed and confused today, but I'm working through it. Weren't on yesterday, but I'm working through it. So just bear with me here today. So more energy from Seattle. If you've got 85%, give 100% of that 85%. I think we see the ebbs and flows. And if you look over on Natural Stat Trick for the Tampa Bay game, you see that the Seattle Kraken have those ebbs and flows as far as the game flow. We want to control more of that. We want more of that in our favor. So that's something that Alison is saying. Another thing that we hear from Alison regarding the 3-game essentials is just that you have to have that killer mentality. And she's, of course, talking about the penalty kill. We talked about it before that October game. Carolina, they feast. They feast offensively. They just are all over the place. So that includes on the power play. So we have to have players like Morgan Geekie, as Alison points out, doing a good job on the penalty kill. Jamie Alexiak still out with that suspension. This will be his final game of that suspension. Let's take a look at the numbers. This comes from the Seattle Kraken. They sent this over to us. Let's look at what we've got. December 15th, that's today at PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. North Carolina, raise up. I went to college in North Carolina, near and dear to my heart. Anyway, overall record, 38 points on the season. For the Hurricanes, they are 16-6-3. We've got 35 points, 16-8-3. So we're in striking distance. It doesn't feel that way right now with how Seattle has been playing, but we're in striking distance. In our last 10 games, we are 6-4-0. The Carolina Hurricanes are 6-1-3. So if we can be consistent, we might be able to go the distance, even if it means a little bit of overtime. And maybe we get a Matty Beniers OT killer, baby. Let's go. Leading scorer, still Burakovsky for us. We see that. Nikas, 38 points for Carolina. The power play, not great for Carolina. So the penalty kill for us has to be sharp. The penalty kill for Carolina, as I just alluded to, 80% clip. We are at a 69.6% clip. We've got some work to do on the penalty kill. Overall, I don't like how the Seattle Kraken have played coming into this game, but I hope we're refreshed. I hope we're revived. I hope we're ready to really get back into the win column. It's going to take a little bit of that. A few updates roster-wise. No Schultz. I know that I said, and we didn't have an episode yesterday, so I didn't talk about it. We mentioned Schultz good to go. Then we found out Schultz not good to go. So Schultz essentially day-to-day right now, question mark. Martin Jones is in net, which brings me to ask the question. I think it's time that we ask the question, are we going to really have a tandem with Grubauer and Jones, or is it time for someone to take over the starting role? I have my opinions, but that's the question of the day. Do you want to see the tandem? It's been on again, off again, or, essentially rotating starts. Do you like that? Or do you want to see someone take over the net? Let me know if you're watching on YouTube in the comments, or of course, if you're listening on your favorite audio platform, you can let me know at Locked On Kraken on social media. Do we need to have our starter in net, or are we okay with a tandem for right now? That is what we're going to talk about coming up on this episode, this game day episode of Locked on Kraken. This episode of Locked on Kraken, as I mentioned earlier, is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to get all of the information that you need to make yourself some money off your Kraken knowledge. It has the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league that is out there. Football, college bowl, basketball, World Cup. Come on, let's do it. And of course, the National Hockey League. For example, the puck line for Seattle today plus 1.5 or a negative 155. The money line is a plus 169. The over 6 plus 111. The under 6 a minus 122 over on Bet Online. So if you love sports, and even if you love sports podcasts, which of course you do, because you listen to Locked on Kraken, and then you listen to Locked on Sports Today, and then you listen to Locked on NHL, you can find those on betonline.net as well. Again, BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to get your betting info. Use your mobile device, your laptop, whatever you got, because BetOnline is where the game starts. Thanks as always for making Locked on Kraken a part of your daily routine. We know that there are so many Locked on options, so many other options, again, that you can find on Bet Online, but you are here with us. You're here with me, your host, Erica L. Ayala, and I am grateful to you for that. Now make sure you listen to Locked on Sports Today. If you are a sports fan, so not just into the hockey, you dabble in basketball and football, even in the World Cup, listen to Locked on Sports Today. They have everything that you need to know from our Locked on insiders, so you'll get it. You'll get all the sports information like only Locked on can do. It's amazing. Okay. You know, I see Kraken Twitter. I see there is a discourse happening. There are some of you that love Philip Grubauer. He can do no harm in your mind. And I understand that because I'm a Maddie Beniers, Ryan Donato truther. Though I would argue that, and some of you comment that you don't like this, but I keep it real. We're not always going to be positive. We can take the positives out of things, but sometimes there is more that needs to be improved than what worked. And so I'm going to keep it real. I'll keep it a buck. I'll keep it 100%. Have I been talking a lot about Ryan Donato? No, because he hasn't been contributing consistently. I get it. Some of you love Philip Grubauer, and I'm not here to judge. And I think we need to have a real conversation about goaltending. We have to have a real conversation about goaltending. Now, Martin Jones, I've been very impressed. I think it's because my expectations were, I don't know where they should have been. Were they lower than they should have been? I do think we were playing with house money in the beginning of the season. So now that Grubauer's back, Jones is, as far as we know, healthy. This back and forth with the goalies, I don't like it. Remember, question of the day, should we have a tandem or should we go with an ace? I feel like if you listen to the show on a relatively consistent basis, you know where I'm going with this. I think we need to pick a netminder. If everyone's healthy, I understand situational and scheming to an extent, but I don't want to see us going back and forth. I just don't want to see it. Another thing that I'll say, and people have been, again, I get it. There's a lot of conversation about Grubauer, a lot of conversation about Martin Jones. Neither one is perfect, obviously. None of us, who among us is perfect, okay? Nobody. Neither one perfect. Neither one elite on a consistent basis. Again, playing with house money, and we have to keep it 100%. Martin Jones was really good for us down a particular stretch. After that Kraken crap to start the season, Martin Jones, 3rd star of the league 1 week. That being said, both of our goaltenders have been exposed, and you should know where I'm going with this. I would argue that both of them have been exposed, yes, because our defense has been lacking. We are not playing team defense like we were, and obviously we have some defenders out of the lineup. That's impacting us right now. Not to mention that we're not quick. We don't move our feet well. We are not a defense that's jumping up in the rush necessarily on a regular basis. I don't, what do you want me to say? I don't like our defense. I've been pretty adamant about that since last season. So moving on from the fact that I don't like our defense, I don't think we're particularly great on defense. I know that there are these data points and statistics that say we're not as bad as it looks eye test. And honestly, I'm trying to understand how that's possible because we have so many defensive lapses. It's painful. Decision-making, bad penalties. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now. Anyway, putting, for those not watching on YouTube, I'm gesticulating a box, and I'm putting the defense box to the side. Putting that to the side, I was hopeful that Philipp Grubauer would kind of get it together. I thought he looked great in that Colorado game. That also happened to be the game that he got hurt, groin injury. I have not seen Philipp Grubauer look that good since. Splashes here and there, some big saves in his last 2 starts. A little bit of brain fog here. I'm not feeling it from Philipp Grubauer. I haven't been feeling it lately from Martin Jones, but we can't go by vibes only, right? We can't go by vibes only. So let's take a look at the stats. Folks. Let's talk numbers, okay? So I'm going to do it pretty regular. We're going to keep it simple here. We're looking at NHL.com. We're looking at the stats. We're looking at the stats and the splits between, Seattle Kraken goaltenders, which of course is Martin Jones, Philipp Grubauer, and Joey Daccord had 1 game. Okay, 21 games played, 19 starts, 13 wins for Martin Jones. He is already over his wins, total wins from last season. 5 losses, twice went to overtime. You see the overall saves there. Goals against at 57. He's got 57 goals against in 21 games played. Philipp Grubauer, we'll get to Philipp Grubauer in a minute. Save percentage, 8s across the board. 8. So 89%. Goals against average, 2.95. Time on ice, 11, 57, 55. Philipp Grubauer, games played 9, games started 8, 2 wins, 4 losses, 1 goes to overtime, 215 saves overall, goals against 27, save percentage 874. 874 is less than 888. Goals against average 295 for Jones, 349 for Philipp Grubauer. So Philipp Grubauer has a lower save percentage. He has a higher goals against average. He has less time on ice, less games, and his numbers are lower. These are averages, right? So you go by how much time he's actually played. His numbers aren't as good. Small sample size, you could argue it's a small sample size. I will give that to you. But in the time that he has spent in net, I mean, if you want to say it's a draw, which it's not, Philip Grubauer he's not serving up the contract that we have him on, in my opinion. Will that change? I think it could change. I hope it changes. But we have to deal with what's happening right now. I've been of the opinion all season, and although I'm a little bit out of favor with Jones, but again, the team hasn't been playing well, I still want to see Jones. I want some consistency in net, and I want it with Martin Jones. There, I said it. I don't know how anyone can be surprised, especially if you've listened to any of my other episodes of Locked on Kraken. It just hasn't been working out. I want to see some consistency in net. The back and forth, I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't think it's helping us. So Jones will be in net tonight. I guess we'll see who goes in net the next time we take the ice. Is Winnipeg next in at CPA? Something like that. We're closing out the road trip. Martin Jones in net. But I told you how I feel. I gave you the numbers that we have. It's not it's a small sample size for Groovy because he was hurt. I get that. And he's coming back from injury. I've talked about all of this before. But the small sample size, the numbers that we have for both of them, given Grubauer's small sample size, and then what we know about Grubauer from last year, I give the edge to Jones. Knowing full and well that the Seattle Kraken have a defense problem. I mean, how do people not think we have a defense problem and our PK is what it is? You know what I'm like? What are we talking about here? Anyway, we don't talk. Can you tell? I could go on so many tangents. I'm really trying not to because, again, I'm at like 80, maybe 85%. It's Jones for me. I want to see him get the starts, get some momentum for him. The defense has to be better. We picked up a player off waivers, not a defenseman. And I just don't know. If something doesn't give, if something doesn't change, if something doesn't start to click for Seattle, I'm not saying we don't make the playoffs, but it just seems like the momentum is dying. And I don't believe the novelty has worn off. And that I defend to the death that the Seattle Kraken have earned the wins that they got. It's not about being lucky. I mean, that 17-goal game. That was the stretch where Jones I was like, bruh, you need stronger sage, man. Make sure it's sage that has been blessed because I'm concerned. That was not a good stretch for the Seattle Kraken. That was not a good stretch for Martin Jones. But I still take Jonesy. I take Jonesy. We don't get to where we're at without him. And that's something. I know some of you love Philip Grubauer. I know you do. But just for a minute, I don't have anything against Philip Grubauer. Is he my favorite? I've said before, no, he's not. So if you want me to say, if you are waiting for me to say that Philip Grubauer is my favorite, I'm not going to do it. Morgan Geeky's not my favorite, but I will eat my words. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If there's other data that you want to bring, because this is basic, I'm an eye test gal, I'm vibes. If there's other data that we need, show it to me. Let's talk about it. It's not overwhelming. It's not a big gap here, people, just to be clear. Despite the fact that Philip Grubauer is not my favorite, it's not a big gap, but it's enough. It's enough for me to give Martin Jones the benefit of the doubt. Let me know in the comments. We'll see what happens. Coming up next on Locked on Kraken, hey, let's talk about the Seattle Kraken showcase. They're going to do their All-Star showcase or skills showcase. Last time it happened during the All-Star weekend or right around All-Star break. Alison getting into the Switch and the Rivalry Series coming back. All that coming up on Locked on Kraken. We have an important message on this episode of Locked on Kraken. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers and are on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe, right? Be kind to yourself and to others. Be thoughtful of yourself and others. Plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life. Or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Not an easy conversation, folks, but I promise there is some levity to this episode of Locked on Kraken. Thank you. Seattle Kraken's Super Skills Showcase is happening January 22nd, 2023, 2 p.m. Pacific time, local time. Everything benefiting the One Roof Foundation. It's back. It's going to be better than before. You're looking at hardest shot, shooting accuracy, obstacle course, a 3-on-3 scrimmage, and more. The broadcast crew is going to be there. Tickets went on sale today. $15 gets you all of that. The competitions are inspired by the NHL All-Star Game, putting Seattle Kraken players to the test against one another. Oh, and a few lucky fans. They're going to wow us with their speed, accuracy, techniques, and tricks. Will there be a Mario Kart tournament? I don't know, but I do know that Alison Lukan got switched. I don't even know what that really means, except for the hashtag. And there's like movies. That's a whole nother thing. She got a Switch controller. She says she doesn't like her little controller knobby thingy mabobbers Switch. I don't know. She's got to get the color scheme. Is there a Seattle Kraken skin situation happening there? It's probably not a skin, right? It's just actual controls. Anyway, whatever. Is there going to be a Mario Kart tournament? I feel like with all the buzz we've been getting, there might as well be, right? Mario Kart tournament. I want to see it maybe next time. So that's happening again. It's right around that Maddie Beniers bobblehead day, which is super exciting. January 22nd, 2023, 2 p.m. Pacific time at Climate Pledge Arena, benefiting the One Roof Foundation. Tickets went on sale today. $15 gets you in the house. Final thing that I want to say before I get ready to take a nap is that I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to watch the Seattle Kraken game, but then I'm also going to be watching tonight. I will be watching the Rivalry Series as the United States and Canada on the women's national team go head-to-head 3-0. USA. Last time these two teams played was at CPA, Climate Pledge Arena, and Alison, Lukan, and John Forsland had the call. It was amazing. One of the players that Alison Lukan highlighted in the beginning of that game ended up being a goal scorer, Abby Rock. You can check out an article I wrote on Abby Rock. She talks about Team USA getting back to the micro. I loved that. Getting back to just the little things, the basic things. And it might be time for the Seattle Kraken to do the same thing. Get back to the micro, get back to practice. Anyway, that's our show. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Again, I'm bringing as much energy that I have today, but you probably noticed it's a little lower. It's not 100%, but I give you 100% of what I got. And that's what we want from our boys tonight. We're going to hold fast. We're going to stay true. It's a game day. So we go. Let's go Kraken. Per the read from earlier, remember, be kind to yourself and to each other, to others, which includes making decisions that are in the best interest of yourself and the collective we. I have nothing but love for you, and I will see you tomorrow on a Friday episode of Locked on Kraken.